Okay. Well, let's start some of those definitions. Now, we're going to walk through it, literally physically act them out, and we want to identify them. So we're just going to start by, introducing the idea that this wall is considered the picture plane, and then everything else on it is the illusion that we can look through it like a piece of glass and we can see into an infinite distance or a scene. It could be anywhere. We're going to be talking about mostly traditionally 1 and 2 point, in which case we're looking straight into the horizon, and our eye level is the same as the horizon in that way, but not in 3 point. We'll get to that later. So the important thing is this eye level is set to my eye level. Since I'm a little over 6 foot, I just said, okay, that's about a 6 foot eye level. So we'll start there. And that's the important part of beginning to learn how we step into it. I'm not there yet. I know you can't see the floor. So the idea is I'm still kind of standing to the side of it, but I want to explain what the picture plane is a little bit more. It's infinite. This flat plane can go on forever, up, down, it doesn't matter. We can use it anywhere we want, as far away as we can. So it could be a very distant vanishing point, way, way down there, and the eye level would still hook up to it if it was a ground plane vanishing point. So the idea of the picture plane, could, as I had mentioned before, it could be the little piece of paper you're drawing on in a sketchbook. It could be a diagram on a piece of paper. It could be this wall as a mural. It's this sheet of paper and the wall together, and the whole diagram together is the picture plane. It could be the computer screen is your picture plane, and we'll go more and more into how the cone is relating to those ideas as well in different ways. But for now, the picture plane, again, if you can imagine, is always straight in front of us. Now, I have picked a point that is straight in front of the same eye level. This is my actual eye level, EL, eye level. And I also have PP, believe it or not, but that stands for picture planes. From now on, PP is picture plane, eye level is always, EL. So now I'm coming to my center of vision, which I'll explain in a second too. Either way, I'm standing straight in front of it now, and that exact eye level is, in fact, my real eye level standing in front of this real wall. So we're going to use real examples of this actual wall. Also, if you can look, the center of vision is directly what I'm facing. So we could say that my body right now in my head, in my station point, is directly perpendicular and parallel to the wall and all these items. So let's start. Remember, the entire wall plus going on forever, down forever, up forever, to the sides forever is the picture plane. Secondly, the eye level. My eye level, again, I'm a little over 6 foot, so my eye level extends out, and the plane, we can imagine, goes on forever and ever and ever. Thirdly, the center of vision. The center of vision is the plane that goes vertically as the eye level goes horizontally. That cross always is exactly where the center of our vision always is our entire lives, and I'll explain that in a second. The idea is, if you look at the idea of the picture plane always being straight in front of us, so if I turn my view and turn toward you, now my picture plane is facing straight toward you. Anywhere. It could be right by your camera, it could be back, I could have a picture plane way behind the camera. It doesn't matter. But I am standing looking straight into the horizon right now where the earth meets the sky, but my eye level is also straight across where I am. So it's roughly where the camera is, but this is my picture plane. If I turn this way, this is my picture plane straight in front of me. But now I'm on my spot again, right in front of my tape mark, runs all the way up the wall like this, and I'm standing right in front of it. So the picture plane travels with us everywhere, as do all of these elements, and I'll explain why. So the picture plane's the first. Picture plane up like this in 3 point, that would be bird's eye looking up. Picture plane straight in front of me this way because my head's down. It's straight in front of my view, looking down. That would be 3 point bird's eye. Then I return to 1 and 2 point, which I'm looking straight into the horizon. I can lower, I can go higher, I can tiptoe. Each time I do that, my eye level rises. My center of vision stays the same until I turn my body. So the eye level is changing, lower or higher, if I go ahead and crouch all the way down to being, like a hamster, all the way up to being a giant. That changes the eye level. But the center of vision doesn't change until I actually change my direction this way. So it's this type of movement for the eye level, this type of movement for the center of vision. Also, the picture plane plays a role later in being able to be flattened out like a flap. Well, we're not getting to that yet. We want to discuss the station point is, in fact, right between our eyes. We are the station point. The very level exactly between our eyes, right at the point of our eyes, is always our station point our entire lives. And if a camera is looking into things like your camera, the lens of the camera is the exact station point you're looking from. But my station point is right here. I've run a line down continuing to the floor about a foot below the SP marker there, continuing down to the floor and runs all the way here to a spot. That spot is the same distance to my eyes standing right here down to there as this distance is to there because it's been flattened. We'll get to that in a second. But to review again, I've picked a spot that is 4.5 feet in front of this wall exactly at a 6-foot eye level because I'm about a little over 6 feet. And I've also picked a center of vision, as you can see right there. I'm not standing on it now, I'm talking to you, but now I position myself, and now this is the actual eye level I really have. As I mentioned before, this is the actual center of vision, and this is the picture plane I've chosen to talk about. The station point, again, is right here. Now, I have a plane going to the floor is exactly where I'm standing. You guys can't see it because I wanted to crop in closer to explain some of this stuff better. But actually, if you can just imagine the center of vision line continues to the floor, which is right here, the floor line, and continues out. And I'm exactly 4.5 feet in my station point straight out. Okay, the cone of vision is the blue circle you see. That is the marcation of where distortion starts. So anywhere in this picture where I'm standing here, right at 4.5 feet, that is my actual cone of vision because I've taken a 30-degree angle and a 30-degree angle from center and projected it out until it strikes the eye level picture plane. Here and here. What that does is allows me to understand where distortion will start. So distortion will start out here, out there, above, out here, and around here. Things will look pretty darn normal in here. You can play with the distortion, but that is the general marcation, especially in 1- and 2-point perspective. In 3-point perspective, actually distortion starts pretty much about 10 or 8% in from that, to be technical about it. So the station point for what we're referring to at this point is right between my eyes at my eye level at my center of vision crossing. So wherever that crosses is also always dead in the middle of the cone of vision. That's where the cone of vision emanates from, is this point right here, okay? So because this is my particular eye level in this picture, again, if I stood back another 20 feet going back like this, more and more and more, the cone would get bigger on this same picture plane because the farther away I am, that 30 and 30-degree cone up, down, to the sides grows larger and larger. If I get closer and closer to the wall at this same eye level and center of vision, the cone would get smaller because the projection of 30 and 30, 30 and 30 as a cone would be smaller. And then I return to my position here at my spot, and the cone would resume back to its size that you see in blue. So what we've covered so far is the idea we have this imaginary picture plane that's actually transparent, and we can see the whole world in front of our view here, or whatever scene we create. Because of that, I need an eye level because it's at the level that I'm viewing it at, which my eyes are actually at, in this case, which is true to the black line, marked eye level. I also have a real center of vision because I'm standing right here. So to rehearse again, that's that plane, and it goes on forever. And it also comes out to me at a plane and returns here. So you could say there's a relationship between the ground coming up and the station point right here where my eyes were. That whole plane is called the distance too. So that could be considered the distance plane to the picture plane, or this is a line of distance from my eyes right to here. And the same thing is true for this distance to that station point, because again, that station point there is the exact same thing as my eyes being here. It's just like a flap, it's been flattened. And that's how people can judge perspective from real angles, which I'm going to explain in a minute. But I want to keep going about the basics on the diagram. At this point, I want to go ahead and talk about one of the diagrams. So at this point, what we'll do is we'll fade in a diagram, and we're going to take a look at that and see, how that can really show us some more of the ground, the ground plane and some of the helpful things. So let's go through all the definitions again, looking at our first diagram. We'll call it diagram A, okay? All right. Okay, with diagram A, you can obviously see the figure is standing in front of a particular eye level, which also acts as the horizon line at this point only because it's in 1 and 2 point, but it actually is eye level all the time. The figure is standing on a ground plane, so no surprise that eye level is the same height as the figure is because, again, that figure's station point is right between his eyes. There's a projection on the ground you can see is the ground distance and the distance from the eyes to the middle of the eye level crossing the center of vision. So as before, that plane exists for the distance plane from the figure to the picture plane. So the standing picture plane can be anything again. It could be us really close to a piece of paper. It could be this person standing that far from the wall. It could be me standing here in my studio this far from my wall, as we just showed. All that is relevant. Also, we can look at the fact that the station point is the same distance on the flattened version, which we're going to get into in a minute. As you can see, goes down. And we always can think in terms of that flattened point. The main thing is to always remember the four things that are ours are the most important thing we can think about. And of course, those elements are the eye level, the center of vision, the station point, and the projected cone of vision are always ours. So we'll come back and talk to that now. But see, look at the diagram in the way that we are kind of above and 3/4 and can see the entire ground. We also have a ground plane, as you can see in the diagram. And we also have a ground line. You see where the ground plane connects to the picture plane wall? That's called a ground line, and that's right where you can put a measuring line easily and figure out true height. What we'll do is we'll come back into the film now and go away from the diagram here and come back. And now what we're doing is we're going to look at the true height. And what does that mean? Well, if I look at the fact that there's a ground line here that's just off your camera, I can measure a true height here because I have real scale. Standing here, that's about 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, because we were talking about having a 6-foot eye level. So when I'm standing right here and looking at my scale of the picture plane standing right in front of me, the idea is at this particular point, my real measurements are actually foot marks, or could be foot marks against this actual wall in real scale as opposed to me. And those are a certain distance away and a certain size, those foot marks across the wall, because I'm this far away. They'd become larger if I stepped closer, and they'd become smaller if I stepped farther away. So the idea is, from the ground line to the eye level here, we could call that a true height line, because that continues up, by the way. You can get true height. Why can we get true height, and what does that mean? It means when we're on the picture plane, when we move around the picture plane as a flat surface and we don't move in depth, we don't gain any size. So as long as I say 1 foot equals a real foot going down to the ground line, a foot is a foot everywhere here. It could be going across the picture, 1 foot equals 1 foot, going up. Anywhere on here, as long as we stay straight on the picture plane or flush to the picture plane, we don't change scale. It's only when we cast things further into the picture they get smaller, like when we look at the world. And if they come closer, they also get larger. And that's where our measuring system will come in a little bit when we do a few more diagrams. So the idea here is, remember, if you set a particular scale at the point of the picture plane, on your true height line, or even anywhere on the picture plane as a flat piece of glass like you've marked on it, that scale is only true at the point of the picture plane. So 1 foot down, let's say, as a total of 6 to my ground line, because I'm 6 feet tall, the SP mark is about 5 feet up. But don't worry about that right now. The flat picture plane here is telling me that if I put a foot mark there, that everything else that falls right flush up against this picture plane that I want to start at this position in space, the picture plane, would also be a foot. It's only if it goes back farther or comes forward would it get larger or smaller going into the picture. And that's really important to understand. The last concept I want to talk about is the fact of the 4 elements that are the most important to remember that are ours. So, if we rehearse again, the eye level is with us since birth. The minute we open our eyes, everywhere in our view, the eye level exists. What does that mean? Anywhere I look, the eye level is always at that center of vision for me like this. It never moves, no matter what I do. I can flail around or whatever. It's like permanent headgear. Also, the center of vision. The center of vision is always like this no matter what angle I'm at, and it always stays. So we essentially have this cross with us all the time, like a periscope in a submarine. It never leaves. The cone of vision, like a periscope, is also with us. It is a projection continually going out forever at 30 and 30 degrees for a total of 60 on either side of the center of vision plane. And it also goes up, down, everywhere, projecting from us because it's a round cone. So the idea of that is no matter where we look in the world, when we wake up and open our eyes or go to sleep again, we are looking at this setup. We might not know it, But the eye level, the center of vision, and the cone. And of course, the cone means we have a particular station point. So that means that viewpoint right between our eyes when we open our eyes is always our station point. So obviously, we are always our own station point. And the camera, in your case, is the station point right at the plane of the lens. So what are we saying about this? There's a permanent package that you bring with you as permanent headgear you wear your whole life, if you can imagine. And that literally is the eye level, the center of vision. So the eye level, the center of vision. And remember, the eye level changes and the center of vision changes every time we change our view. And the eye level is not equal to the horizon all the time, only in 1 and 2 point perspective when we happen to be looking straight into the horizon on the Earth. But if we were in 1 point perspective and look straight down, then our eye level would be crossing the ground and buildings coming up would become the depth of the picture. So it's not true that the eye level is always equal to the horizon line. It's only when we're looking straight into the horizon, basically, with the ground eventually meeting the sky. So here we go. We always have our eye level, no matter where I look, it never changes. It's always right here, our center of vision. The cone also is always everywhere I go at that projected angle I talked about. And our station point is always right here. So no matter where I'm looking into the world, those 4 items are always together. The eye level, the center of vision, the station point, and the projected cone. So no matter what picture plane I pick, far or near, that setup right here on the wall, why it's so important is it's with us our entire lives. I know, it's like, what's the big deal? The big deal is that's how we know how to start a view, no matter if it's the simplest thumbnail all the way to a 100-hour technical drawing. It doesn't matter. These ideas are always there. Like I mentioned before, like the constellation and the stars. We might not see them all the time on a cloudy night or during the day with clouds or the blue atmosphere. We can't see them. But all these parameters inside and outside our picture frame are always there, and they're never not there. It's just we might not think of them. So another analogy before we go on to the next explanation of the station point and how we can see it flat and in person in 3D at the same time, I wanted to talk about perspective. I look at like a warehouse. You can have 100 booths inside the warehouse that have a little bit of different information with a little light above them. And you can walk in the door of this large warehouse with these 100 booths that all have a single light above them. So 100 lights, 100 booths, different information. You can walk in and have a light switch that has 100 choices on it. You can go through, the rest of your art career basically turning on just a few lights that you know about or understand, and the rest will stay off. The point of this program, really, in the lecture series, is to try to turn on all the lights in order and understand everything in the warehouse. And then when you need certain booths, because you know where they are and what they do, you only turn on a selection of lights as you need them when you're doing different projects or different artistic endeavors. So the idea is, if we know how the entire warehouse works, or the entire amount of things to know generally about 1, 2, and 3 point, and the distance and the picture plane and how to scale figures, all this stuff, you have the choice to go in and just flip on as many switches as you'd like to when you need them. But if you don't know much, then you're always dependent on other people's opinions, what a good diagram is, or let's say the cliff notes, I call them, of perspective. Oh yeah, let's just give them a few things. It won't take that long. I don't want to be bothered with it. So now you get to know the cliff notes of perspective, well as other people know the entire story. So this lecture series is about the entire stories as much as possible. So that being said, we're going to now go on and explain what the station point is again, but how it can be flat to us as a flat part of a picture, but also still representing where we're actually standing in front of our picture. So we're going to get on to that in a second, okay? All right?